Hey everybody, welcome back to the Badgerland Birding Podcast, bringing you birding news and stories from the Badger State and beyond. Today we're talking with Ezekiel Dobson, who is doing a lower 48 big year and having a lot of success with it. How are you doing, Ezekiel?
I'm doing well tonight. How about you guys?
Doing good. You're with us in Kentucky right now,
Correct.
where you're from. So can you give us a little background about how you got started in birding? You're only 19 years old now. Were you always a birder, or was it something you got into a little later on?
Well, no one in my family really did birds, so it was kind of something I did on my own. I wasn't taught it or anything like that. Started when I was about 12. I think it was my birthday, and I was merely just looking for a hobby to get into. And I picked up like a field guide to the birds of Idaho, which is where I'd lived at the time, and just started memorizing like every bird in there, and then eventually started to go look for them and start checking them off. And ever since then, I've been really addicted to the hobby. So.
Sweet. Um, was there a particular species that caught your eye, a particular spark bird? House
Yeah,
sparrow.
ruffed grouse, actually.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Solid pick. And then did you see that one right away, or did you have to go search for it for a while?
I was just hiking in my backyard and flushed it, and I was like, "Is that a chicken or a turkey?" And then I kind of got the field guide and realized, oh, it was ruffed grouse. So yeah.
So you're saying that if you picked up a field guide to the frogs of Idaho, we would be in a different place right now? It just happened to be the bird field guide was the one that was there.
Uh, yeah, I guess.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So just by luck, basically,
Yeah.
here you are. And
Yep.
now you decided to do a big year. What happened with that decision? Was it just as soon as you graduated high school, you thought, I'm gonna go do something big?
Well, I mean, I was already taking a year off school and traveling a bunch this year. I was headed out to Arizona for a couple months, and then I was gonna come back east, like during spring migration or stuff like that. And I was like, I could get probably a lot of yearbirds if I, tried to target some birds. I wasn't as serious as when I started as I am now, just because I didn't realize I'd have this much success. I was like, my goal was like 650, I think. It was like a motto school or somewhere around there. But yeah, I just kind of started January 1st, went out to New York to get, lots of like winter seabirds and then the red flanked bluetail in New Jersey. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was kind of just like a nonchalant thing and then just got more serious as the year went on. I'd been wanting to do a big year for a while, but kind of like more serious, like doing an ABA big year, including Alaska and Hawaii. But then the idea of like doing a lower 48 struck me when I was already doing so much traveling this year. I was like, why not? So
Sweet. Um, I saw that your goal, I believe, is 730
yeah, now it's 7:30.
to get to. Is there a particular reason for the 730 number, or was that just kind of something where you're like, that seems reasonable?
Mostly reasonable. I have a ton of targets still that are, relatively easy that I could like get, especially some wintering birds I missed last year. So I think 7:30 is almost a guarantee unless I miss like quite a few pelagic birds.
Okay. So what are some of the ones that you still need that are breeders or
Uh,
overwinters, I should say?
well, the only breeder I think I need in the U.S. is white-winged crossbill, which is currently in
Oh,
Minnesota. But easy winter stuff are like snowy owl, Smith's longspur, dovekie. I mean, dovekie can be tough, but and then just like a ton of like easy pelagic birds like Sabin's gull or red phalarope, stuff like that. Thanks.
oh, nice. So what are you at right now currently?
708.
Okay, so you already eclipsed your first one that you were going for.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice, congratulations. That's awesome. And that's a, huge number because I think a lot of people in the hobby, their life list isn't even that high and you're there in a single year. So that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Um, I'm assuming you've seen the movie The Big Year, right?
Yes.
So how similar have you found your experiences doing The Big Year to be to the people in that movie?
Um, to a specific character probably Jack Black more so, kind of like winging it here and there. Finances can be tough sometimes, but the Lord has provided for sure, and I'm really shocked of how far I've gotten. That's kind of was I wasn't as serious as I am now, just when I started because I knew I didn't have like a ton of money. But then just getting out there and seeing birds and just chasing stuff, and you're just like, man, I actually have a good shot at like breaking a ton of records. So you begin to have more confidence and stuff. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is there any chance, do you think, that you could push to actually winning the lower 48 record?
Well, speaking of that, I thought we'd pull up the data here. So this is the I feel like you're gonna make it on Wikipedia for sure, which is cool because they got the top, 14 lower 48
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
numbers here. So
The 708.
751 is the record by the Stoll brothers.
I don't know if that's possible, but Texas would need to have another really good winter. Florida would need to kick in, get me some good birds, because Florida's been dead like all year. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the year goes. This fall could be really good along the Pacific coast.
That is so cool though that you're going to be on Wikipedia. I mean, congratulations.
Well, I think I'm already on there,
Are you?
just
I
not on
don't.
the ranking. So if you look at the history of the big year, it tells that I broke the record of 700 at age 19 with my flame color tanager.
Wait.
So are you the youngest to get over 700 then?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Check it out. There he is.
Oh, yep, there he is.
Yep. Thanks.
Now,
Yeah.
I've got to ask, in the movie, everybody knew who else was doing a big year to a degree, and at first it was hush hush, don't say you're doing a big year. Was it like that? Are there other people out there you're sort of competing against, or what's all going on with the big year scene?
I mean, we're all very friendly. I know a ton of people who are doing big years. I mean, a lot of people are mostly ABA, so I can't really compete against them. But we help each other out. We have each other contacts. So like, hey, have any advice about getting this bird? Or, can you send me a pin or a location? Just stuff like that. But we're all very friendly to each other. I've never met anyone who's been like hush hush about their big year and not wanting to talk about it.
Because you wouldn't know, because they wouldn't tell you.
Well, yeah, if they never told I was doing a big year. So yeah.
Derek's doing a big year.
Could
Oops.
be.
Probably shouldn't have said that.
Derek who?
Ouch.
Oh, you. You're doing a big year? Nice.
No. Uh, have you found there has been a lot of support when people found out you were doing one? Did people like, oh, you can stay at my place? So like, oh, something
Yeah,
like that.
all the time. I was expecting to sleep in my car almost throughout the year, but most of the time I'm actually, traveling and then meeting people that day. And then often they'll be like, hey, if you're needing a place to stay for that, come over to my place and, we'll go birding in the morning or something. I'm like, sure, that's great. So just like I have so many people that I know everywhere just from doing a big year, I have some random people in Texas or California or North Dakota, stuff like that. And they'll just be like, hey, whenever you're passing through, feel free to stop by and say hi or stay at our place. So, yeah.
That's nice.
Kind of
That's
seems
really
like you have
convenient.
yourself set up for the rest of your life for traveling around the world whenever
Right?
you want
Yeah.
to.
That's definitely pro when you're into birding. You know people everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Has there been a bird that's been a really big miss for you so far?
Yeah, black-tailed gull in Michigan.
Oh
Oh,
no.
I missed it by like 2 hours, but yeah.
oh.
Dang. That's tough.
Yeah.
Has there been one you've tried to make multiple trips for?
Multiple trips. Nothing like major. I mean, just like small birds here and there, but not like megas. Usually, if I miss it, I know it's gone. But with the black-tailed gull, I missed it and then left like the day too, and then someone refound it like 2 weeks later, just like 30 miles east in the same lake. So I feel like if I would have stayed there a few days, I probably would have gotten it. Kind of gave up too easy.
Man, that hurts.
Yeah.
If it was because that was earlier in the year, if that was now, would you have just stayed? Would it have just
Yeah.
changed the way that you saw that experience?
Oh, 100%. Now I like can't wait for a single bird to show up in the US that I need. But like there, I was just so worried about getting to other places to see easy stuff. Whereas like I could have stayed there for a week and gotten to see those birds, later. Even like earlier on in the year, there's so many birds I could have chased that I didn't get, and I regret.
What are some of them?
Well, there was Gargany and Fieldfare, both in Gargany was in Minnesota for like a week. I could have gone. Fieldfare was, I think it was in Wisconsin actually.
Yeah, it stayed there for a long time, man.
I
You had a
know.
long while to go get that thing.
I know. I should have. I don't know what I was thinking.
The
Or where I
Midwest
was
sounds
at.
like it's really kicking your butt.
Yeah, no kidding.
There was a couple too in Texas or California or somewhere around there that I just didn't think of chasing, but like now I regret it so much.
Yeah.
What's something that you feel like people misunderstand about doing a big year?
Um, hmm. Like what non-birders misunderstand or
Yeah,
birders?
like if someone just heard, "Oh yeah, that guy's just traveling around the US like looking for birds." Like what is a misconception people have about it or something that you thought, like you said you thought you'd be sleeping in your car all the time, but actually you found a place, something like that that's kind of this is way different than I thought it would be or other people might think of this as.
Hmm. Well, I mean, most people don't understand what a big ear is, and they don't, really relate it to birds. When they hear big ear, they when I say bird ear, then they kind of understand a little more. But most of the time when I'm traveling around, they just think, I'm just traveling for fun and, hoping to see birds along the way, but not like actually going out of my way to see one specific bird. But when I tell them like, oh yeah, I drove 16 hours to see this bird overnight or something like that, then they realize like, oh wow, like that's super serious that you would, drive 16 hours out of your way to see one bird. So that I think that's just something that they can't grasp because we're obsessed with birds and we do it all the time. But people who aren't really obsessed with birds, they're like, why the heck would you do that?
That's true. I feel like there's a big divide, like the birding community, like everybody gets it immediately. Like, oh, of course, I made a video when I went to see the gray gull. It was like I spent over $1,000 to see this bird. And I thought the comments would be a bunch of people being like, that's ridiculous. How could you spend that much money? But it was a bunch of birders going like, oh yeah, totally. Like I
Yeah,
spent this to go
That's a
see
good
this.
deal.
Yeah.
right.
So it really is a big divide between the people that know and the people that don't know.
Yeah, I
How
got.
has oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, this year I got my gray goal by buying by buying a white loaf of bread at Walmart and just like started feeding some laughing gulls, and then within like 10 minutes it came in. So it was like the best $3 I ever spent.
Wow, that's a big disparity between what you had to spend and what he had to spend, Derek.
That's true. I guess I wonder if I just did that here, if we could have drawn it all the way to the Midwest.
Yeah.
Those goals, man.
I was gonna say, how much has doing the big year impacted your daily life? Because I'm assuming you have to sort of always be on call and ready to go if something shows up. So has
Right.
it just changed the entire dynamic of your life? Are you not able to plan stuff anymore that you want to do that's not bird related because it's just all if something shows up, I gotta go?
Um, well, before this year, I actually wasn't a very serious birder. Like, I wasn't
Really?
one who was concerned about making completes everywhere I went, or like getting out to find rarities, or I wasn't like a county lister or a state lister, just because Kentucky kind of sucks so bad. It's not really worth it.
Gosh.
Um, and I was also in school too, so I was mostly focused on studies and not birds. So now just not having to worry about school and just being free like all the time. I mean, I don't work. I don't, do
Congrats.
school. Yeah. So I don't, I mean, I'm working right now at home just to raise some money, but like I don't have a job. I have to, work 8 to 5 or something like that. So I'm constantly like always free and looking at my phone, making sure there's nothing I'm missing. Um, so yeah, in that aspect, it's changed a lot just by the availability of being able to drop everything what I'm doing and just leave for a bird. So yeah,
How many, if any, birds showed up where you didn't want to go, but you're like, I gotta go look for this thing because it's rare.
black-tailed gull. I didn't want to go. It was
Well,
so far out of my
obviously you got
way,
there and then left.
right? Yeah, it was so far out of my way because I was heading down to Arizona. It just got back from Maine, and I was like in Kentucky, so I had to go like 10 hours north to see it. Or it was for like more like 12 hours, and then didn't get it, so just drove the 12 hours back south and then back down to Arizona. It sucked.
So you drove that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that does suck. Yeah, you're right.
So because of my age, it's hard for me to do a rental car. So most of the time,
Sure.
I'm driving everywhere, pretty much. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Hopefully nothing pops up in California that you have to go get.
Well, I fly to Phoenix tomorrow, so hopefully they're done. Something does pop up.
Yeah, I guess you'll be within striking distance
Right.
then.
Are
Yeah.
you going for anything particular in Phoenix?
No, just trying to head out west. I mean, I have a pelagic in San Diego in the next couple of days, so I gotta be out there.
That's a big thing, those pelagics. You can get
Yeah.
almost anything out
Right.
there. If all else fails, you're just gonna go pelagics all the time toward the end of the year to see if you can pick up some Asian and rarities.
Right. The waters have been so good this year. Particularly like in the northern part of the Pacific. because I did a pelagic like 2 weeks ago out of San Diego. We had like nothing. It was so bad. We had not a single alcid. It sucked. But
Really? Not a
yeah,
single one?
not a single alcid. Everyone said like, oh, it's guaranteed scrapes or guaranteed curvaries if you go out there, but it's like, nope, we didn't get
They
it.
lied
Never
to
want to
you.
guarantee.
No,
That's
yeah,
a give you your money back type deal.
yeah,
Feels
right.
like.
I feel like birders should never say guaranteed on a rarity or something like that. But
There was this one birder that I know who would always say, I would eat my hat if we didn't see that. And then eventually he started getting it wrong. So then he stopped saying it. So he would no longer say, I will eat my hat if we don't see one of those.
yeah, it's funny.
What's been your favorite state to bird in?
Ooh, Texas. I love Texas. I used to
Texas
live
is
there
cool.
actually before Kentucky. So as you can see, like I lived in one of the best states for birding, and then I went to Kentucky for like one of the worst. This is like huge change for me. But yeah, I just love the people there. I love how many birds they get, all the different environments, and it's just huge too. Like you can drive, 7 hours and be in the hill country, and then another 3 and be in like the coastal, Gulf Coast area. It's just, and then another 3 and be in the valley. It's just amazing.
Yeah. So Ryan and I have talked about this and we kind of have ours decided, but I'm curious about what your perspective is. What are the top 5 like places to bird in the United States?
Top 5 places, like a specific hotspot or like a
Like you
state?
Sort
could
of like
pick the valley,
regionally.
like the Rio
So
Grande Valley. It could
yeah,
be.
like the Rio Grande Valley or like South Florida, sort of like the region,
Yeah,
kind of narrowed down a little bit.
yeah, I gotcha. Um,
Kentucky #1.
yeah,
Just all of it.
right, all of Kentucky. I'd say probably the Valley, number 1. Number 2, mm, I would probably say like uh, s- I don't know, probably southeastern Arizona, and
That's
then
also our number one and number two. So you're
okay, yeah,
right there.
number 3. Because I mean, like in the winter, obviously the Valley is better than Arizona, but overall, I just love the Valley. That's like my favorite place on earth. So I'm gonna put that as 1. 2, southeastern Arizona. 3 would probably be the Keys in Florida. 4, this is tough, but I'm gonna have to go with like around Cape May Point, New Jersey.
We've heard that from people before. We went to that area when it was like early spring, but we heard that in the fall and in late spring, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then 5, really just anywhere in California, probably like San Diego, LA area, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fairly similar to what
There's
we decided
there's
as
one
well.
that we had on for sure that I knew you weren't going to say because it's in the Midwest, but the Saxon Bog in winter is a pretty magical
Oh,
place.
yeah. I thought about that, but I was like, I mean, I don't know. You can get like, you can bird there for like 8 hours and get like 20 birds in the winter.
It's
But they're
true, but they're
good
cool
birds.
20
Right.
Yeah,
birds.
yeah, exactly.
Solid birds. But yeah.
So have you had any experiences that have really stuck out to you in your big year, like really adventurous things that you've had to do, or just really cool things that you've never done before that you got to experience? Sort of like
Uh,
if they were making a movie about your big year, what would be the highlights that have occurred so far?
hmm. Well, there's lots of instances where I've had to hike many, many miles and wasn't prepared for like bringing water and stuff, like in the desert for my Kalima warbler.
I was gonna say Kalima Warbler. As soon as you
Yeah,
said where I had to hike, that was the first thing that came to
yeah,
mind.
dude, I hated that hike. It sucked. I will never go back to Big Bend.
Never again,
Never
ever.
again, unless
What
there's
You
what
like,
about when
guarantee
you do
it.
your ABA big year?
I guess yeah, I'll have to go back there.
Oh,
No,
got him.
Oh.
no, I'd be willing to skip Kalima warbler if nothing showed up there
Wow.
for my
It's
big
one
year.
fewer than you would end up getting though.
Yeah, I guess. I just
You
hated
would end up tying or something the record, and then you would just think back to when you had that weekend open to go see the Kalima Warbler and you
Yeah,
chose not to.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, probably just, instances where I wasn't prepared, didn't know what I was doing. I'm young. This is my first time traveling a lot alone. So I've also learned a lot on how to be safe, how to be prepared, when I'm out in nature. Um, I can't think of like any particular thing that happened. There was one time when I was going to see the Bicknell's thrush on Mount Washington in New Hampshire. and I was with my parents, and they didn't want to drive up the mountain, so we took like a train up there. And I didn't realize this, but once we got up there, they said you only have an hour to see the to like browse the top of the mountain. But they take you to like the very top, which is like just rocks and boulders. So you have to hike or at least walk down the road like at least a mile down to get to like good Pycnoid thrush habitat. So I kind of like booked it down there, not realizing the time. And by the time I got the bird, at least heard it singing, it had been like 25, 30 minutes. And I really wanted to get a visual and a picture mostly. So, I kept going down and down the mountain. And eventually I got one, got a picture, looked at the time. It was like, had been 55 minutes since they dropped us off. And the train conductor was like, yeah, we're leaving, book it back. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it in time. So they left without me. And my parents did have to end up driving up the mountain to pick me up, sadly. But
That's hilarious. That's a great story.
Yeah, got the bird though.
That's fantastic. Do you have a picture of it that you can send us? I would love to see this picture that made you miss the train for.
Yeah, probably.
Fantastic. That's a great story. I love that. Were they mad at you or were they like, we get it?
So mad, bro.
Oh,
They were so mad. Yeah, they
like,
did
why
not
did we
talk
let
to
this kid pick up that field guide that one time? It really ruined him.
Yeah, I wonder how often they're regretting that.
Yeah.
They got to
They
credit
get
the work ethic, though, right?
Yeah, right. The extents I'm willing to go for birds.
For sure. Have you had any sketchy experiences? Like either with we always talk about like Sasquatches and
Well,
things,
I have to
but
mention
like also
this
just dangerous
because
situations.
the land between the lakes in Kentucky has a reputation of being really sketchy in terms of weird, paranormal, creepy activity. Have you had any experiences in that place?
I've only birded there like once or twice, but I mean it's just a bunch of creepy old people. But other than that, like it's fine.
Have you heard stories about that place
No,
or not
no,
really? Okay.
no.
Are you gonna tell us some, right?
What?
Are you gonna tell us some? Like fill us
Well,
in.
they're definitely out there. Like I've never been to the LBL, but it's one of those
You have
places that
you have an acronym for it?
it has an acronym, trust me. There's allegedly, now I'm not saying I believe this because it's really out there, but allegedly it's a place where there was some sort of creature attack on some family. It's an urban legend that there were a bunch of people murdered by some creature in the LBL.
Hmm.
And so people are always going to the LBL to try to find strange activity and stuff because of this story. So people say that they hear weird noises and things like that from there.
Yeah, never
When
heard
it's actually just Ezekiel calling some bird.
It could be. I mean, I don't know what goes on
Right.
down there, but it could just be one of those places where, it's Kentucky. Not a lot of people know anything about Kentucky if you don't live there. So it could just be a scapegoat location, like, oh yeah, somewhere down in Arkansas in this place, or somewhere down in Alabama, or somewhere in Kentucky. But did you have any weird experiences any other time out in the woods or out on the road? Either just where you felt unsafe because of stuff going on with people, or there was something that happened that you can't explain?
Mm, I mean, nothing like Trey's story. I know he did a podcast here a couple months ago, and he was telling a Sasquatch story.
Yep, love that story.
Yeah, nothing like that, unfortunately. I kind of wish I'd get to see Bigfoot, but not as lucky as him.
You'll just have to go to the Pacific Northwest more often and camp out there, and maybe you'll have your sighting.
Right.
What about sketchy stuff as far as like safety?
Like, have you ever been to the Thrasher spot?
The one in Phoenix?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been there. But they recently did like some construction there, so like 80% of the habitats they're gone.
Hmm.
But I mean, just like cartel activity along the border, sleeping in like the most random parking lots, like two miles from the border. But there's border patrol everywhere, so it's safe. I feel like I'm safe. People ask me like, how can you sleep, in your car just 2 miles from the border? But it's like, I'm fine.
Do you have a sleeping in your car hack or like a thing that makes it easier, or is it hard to get used to?
I mean, I've tried so many different ways to sleep in that car, and I found a really comfortable way. I'll like take off the head part of the seat, and then I'm able to recline it all the way down to where it's like flush with the back seat, and then it'll create like a kind of a small bed for me. So it
Oh,
works out
nice.
great. Yeah.
You're living large out there.
Yeah.
So, do you have sort of, sorry to switch away from random topics and talk more about birds, but do you have a plan for the rest of the year now, what you're going to do to try to get that number up? Is it all laid out, or are you just kind of on call waiting for what gets reported?
Well, I have a lot of pelagics booked in the next couple weeks out of California, maybe one out of Washington, and then like a repo cruise from Vancouver to San Diego. So that like does the entire Pacific. But those are like the only things that are set in stone. I mean, I have plans to go obviously back to Texas in like November, December, and then back to Florida in November. I have to go up to like Michigan for White and Crossbill, up to
You know,
like
Wisconsin's got some white-winged
oh yeah,
crossbills,
Wisconsin too.
and snowy owls
Have you
and
done
Right.
much birding out here?
In Wisconsin?
Yeah.
No, I think my state list is probably under 100. I need to get out
oh,
there. Yeah. But so, Wisconsin or Minnesota at least before the year ends, and then out to like the northeast for like barnacle goose and dove key, stuff like that.
So you've tallied up what you still need, and you think you can get to 730.
Yeah, that's the most reasonable goal.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
like that you're shooting for reasonable, but I'm hoping that you go unreasonable. I hope your reasonable expectations are destroyed by your unreasonable
I hope it's
success.
like the big year where at like 5 days before the black-tailed gull shows up again, and you can
Hmm.
On
go
a
see it
mountaintop in Colorado.
in a hot spring,
That'd be great.
eating a loaf of bread or, discarded chicken tenders or something.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
So, you mentioned, well, I know like in your bio it talks about your faith a little bit. How has that played a big role in your big year?
Um, I wouldn't say it's played a big role. I just like to give the glory to God in a lot of my fighting findings, because I know He has provided so much for me throughout this year, financially and safety and protection and all that stuff. So I want to give credit where credit is due. But He's been someone to talk to for sure on long drives that are lonely a lot. But yeah, I just like to talk about my faith, especially when people look to me for birds or, just ask me questions about it too. Gives me an opportunity to talk about it for sure.
Yeah, do you have a favorite verse?
I do, yeah. Romans 12:2, which is, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind so that you may prove God's perfect and pleasing will.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Um, have you had any, we call it a last minute lifer, where you think you're not gonna see it, and then like you're walking to the car, and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, it showed up.
Yeah, so slate-throated redstart in San Francisco. Did not think I would get this bird, this year, because I didn't have any plans to go to like Big Bend again or the Davis Mountains. So I just kind of thought, probably not gonna get it. And then I got word that it showed up, and I didn't think it was legit. I thought it was like a painted redstart or mis-ID'd something. But called a buddy there, and he's like, "It's legit, it's legit." I was like, "Holy crap!" I need to get there now. But I was in San Diego at the time, so I knew I wasn't gonna get there the day it was there. So I went there the next morning. I thought it was just gonna be a one-day wonder, and we got it that day. I was so pumped, and now it's been there for like a month.
Just teasing you.
Right,
Um,
I know. I hate all these birders that are like nonchalant or going to get it. It's like that's not right. I should have gotten it because I drove all night to get there for the next morning, and then it should have left. Should have been gone.
It
That's
is
the
funny
thing, you
when
never
there's something
know.
like that where you're thinking it's going to be gone because it'll be a species that never stays and then it just stays for 3 months and then
Right.
you wonder why you rush so hard to get it. I
Yeah.
missed my family's wedding to go see this.
Dude, that was the field fair. Like me and some friends drove through the night, like the next day or 2 days after it was found, that it stayed for months.
Yeah.
Although it was difficult the entire time.
Yeah, it
So
was always difficult. So
Yeah.
that was
are
tough.
there some species that you've gotten that are big time rarities that just in general you would even be really happy to get, spotted owl, stuff like that?
Um, I mean, I'm happy I got the gray gull. That's like a code 5. Uh, so really happy for that. A lot of the birds in Texas were really nice because I wasn't planning to go there until like the end of January, and they all stuck around. So like the gray colored Picard.
That thing
Uh,
was a nightmare to get.
yeah, I mean, I got it pretty easily. I walked up. Well, I guess the first day I missed it. I thought it was gone because no one had seen it for like 4 days, and then someone refound it, and then it was seen like every morning. But after that, it was gone all day. So you just got to be there like first thing in the morning.
Well, the thing about it, we had an experience with this bird where we would be there first thing in the morning and somebody would see it, but no one else would see it. Or because you look at the reports in South Texas and you know this, but people listening, it's not the kind of thing where if it's seen, you're going to go see it.
Right.
Somebody can see stuff in South Texas 30 minutes before you get there, and chances are then it's not there anymore. It's somewhere else on the property that it's visiting. So we
Right.
would be there, by the tram trail, and then someone would walk over from the feeders and say, "Oh, I saw it just, 30 seconds ago." And then we would go over there and it'd be gone. And then no one would see it for the rest of the day. So you'd see
Yeah.
reports and, seen well at this time, and you think, how in the world did we miss that? But you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, South Texas is awesome though. And they've had a real good year for rarities. I'm excited to see what shows up this
You got the
this
fan-tailed,
fall
I'm
and
assuming,
winter.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, you are pulling a Ryan Rodriguez because it's slowly getting dark. No, that was a tray. You're pulling a tray where it
Is it?
slowly gets dark to the point where you're not visible anymore.
I can go inside real quick if that works.
Oh, no, it's fine. You're good like that. I was just pointing out that you're pulling a tray.
Oh, okay.
What is the big thing that you feel like your big year has taught you? Or is there one kind of culmination of like, after I'm done, this is going to be the big thing that I take away
This
from
is going to be my legacy.
Honestly, just like keeping with it and chasing birds that I still need for lower 48 or ABA, because I just didn't chase anything before this. I mean, maybe like, a few state birds or, like say if a Pacific loon showed up in Kentucky and I needed it for life, I would do that. But like, like when I hear about like dark-billed cuckoo in the Keys or stuff like that, like 2 or 3 years ago, like I'm like, why didn't I chase that? Like, what was I doing? And now I'm just gonna keep with it, and hopefully have a life list of like 800 for lower 48 by the time I'm like 20 something or something like that.
What is the lower 48? Is there a lifeless record? Are you aware of anything like that?
There probably is, but I don't know them.
Yeah, and I don't know much about that either. Um, do you have plans after this to go after a career? Are you hoping to kind of turn this big year into your career doing guiding or maybe research or something like that?
Yeah, that's the plan, is to become a bird guide. So hopefully I'd work for Arizona Birding Guides in Arizona, southeastern Arizona, and then maybe start my own business in a year or two.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy seeing the guides, oh, I'm going to Costa Rica, I'm going to Colombia, or all that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of the US, what would be your dream destination to go birding?
Probably either like just 600 or 700 miles south into Mexico. I know there's like so many birds I could get. Or like anywhere in Asia, like Taiwan, or anywhere like in Japan or along the Asian coast, anywhere around there.
Sweet. And one more from me. You mentioned that Kentucky, you're not a fan of the birding scene. Why is that? Like Kentucky's a place I've never done any thorough birding, but why do you think it's so bad?
I think it's really underbirded, but I mean, I try to grind so much in my county, and I never come up with anything good or rare. I think just the habitat's like all the same, and there's not much to it. Like I think birds just see it and book it over, migrate over. Or, I mean, it's good for like breeding warblers. Like we get cerulean, Kentucky, blue wing, stuff like that. But it gets boring after a while.
I gotcha. Do you think
There's probably not a lot of unique habitat there.
Yeah, right. And we do get the big lakes in like the southwestern part of the state, but I just don't think they're birded enough.
Sure.
So what you're actually saying is more birders should come to Kentucky.
Right.
Help sort out that situation a little bit.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of people out? Are there clubs? Like, or is it just kind of you feel like you're on your own down there?
I think there's like 3 birders in my county. So 4 including me. It's like serious birders. I mean, there's like a bunch of people on the Northern Kentucky like Facebook club or whatever, but they're just like people who take pictures of birds at their feeders, and they don't really, go out for birds. We try to host bird walks here occasionally, But we just get like people who are into nature and want to go for a hike or something like that. But not like people who are serious and looking for rarities and out there grinding for stuff.
Sure.
Do you guys have any signature species there that you would say, oh yeah, if you come to Kentucky, this is what you're going to want to look for? Up here in Wisconsin, we made a list and we decided snowy owl, Connecticut warbler, whooping crane, Kirtland's warbler, and then greater prairie chicken was what we decided for us. Is there anything like that down by you?
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of the breeding warblers like cerulean. I mean, people die to see that in Texas. Like, they go crazy over it. But, like, here, any road you bird, you can get, like, 5 or 6.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, that's nice. But there's really nothing, like, special. I mean, we do get Connecticut warbler that come through in migration pretty reliably. That's where I got my lifer here. But other than that, like, it's pretty plain. Just the eastern fun stuff like cardinal and blue jay.
I feel like Kentucky warbler's got to be on there. I mean, it's named after your state.
Well, yeah, but
Right.
Connecticut warbler is not really true to Connecticut, so.
Right.
Yeah, but if they breed there, I mean, that's got it. Seeing a Kentucky warbler in Kentucky just sounds more fun.
Right.
Put it on the bucket list.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to see every bird in its state that it's named for.
Yeah.
Where can people follow along with your big year if they want to know how you're doing, what your total is?
Instagram and Facebook, and then just checking out my eBird profile or like the eBird rankings. You can see what's my number at on there. But Instagram and Facebook, I try to post stories about every time I get a new bird, or a post about a highlight of a trip or something. So yeah.
Are you winning so far?
I'm sorry?
Are you winning so far this year?
In the lower 48?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm ahead of David and Tammy McQuaid, who have like 660 or something.
Okay.
So I got like 40.
Let's go, Zeke.
Yeah.
If you ever need a pep talk, give us a call.
All right, we'll do.
Is there a place people can support you on your travels?
Yeah, GoFundMe. I people can donate through that, and that helps a ton. Like even just like $40 is a full tank of gas for me, and that's like 600 miles. So that can help with another bird, and I don't waste it on like hotels and stuff like that. So it's either food or gas, really.
Just the phrase, I don't waste it on hotels and stuff. It's definitely a big year birder sort of thing to say.
So if you want to contribute so Zeke can see the black-tailed gull again when it inevitably returns, you can check out his GoFundMe as well.
I think you should send them an obligatory photo of whichever bird you saw with that money. Generally.
I was going to say whatever you spent the money on, like a picture of you filling the gas tank. Like, thanks for paying for this tank of gas.
Yeah.
Right? That'd be good. I should
Here's a Kentucky warbler.
Yeah.
I think you have to also include the Bicknell's thrush photo too.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, I will say, Zeke, Ken Kaufman wrote about his, big year in Kingbird Highway. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't. But
I would definitely recommend it. I think you would relate to it quite a bit. But it'd be cool, if you would consider writing a book or something about it.
Yeah,
I feel like
for
it'd be
sure.
pretty neat.
My writing skills aren't the best, but I could do my best.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Thanks for taking the time, and thanks everyone for watching this episode of the Badgerland Birding Podcast.